Hi, I'm Katrina Eames, and it has snowed multiple times where I live, so I guess that means it's winter now, which means it's time for my fall reading wrap-up. I read 10 books this fall. They were all excellent. Let me tell you about them. But first, this video is brought to you by Layers of Complexity. Layers of Complexity, because when you think things are simple, you're wrong. And in that spirit, let's start with children's fiction. I only read one children's book this autumn, and it was The Mysterious Benedict Society and the Perilous Journey by Trenton Lee Stewart. This is the second book in the Mysterious Benedict series. Our young heroes are reunited and go on a journey to search for their mentor who has gone mysteriously missing. Can they work together to solve the clues and puzzles left behind? Should they have stayed behind in relative safety in order to let the proper authorities handle it? I mean, yeah. Probably, but that'd make a bad story. And this isn't a bad story. It's about four extraordinary children, their friendship, and about someone struggling to answer the question of if people are basically good or evil and if people are worth trusting and believing in. It's delightful, and I look forward to reading the next in the series. Next genre, comics. I read 2 Marvel trade paperbacks this fall. First up, The Vision, Volume 2, A Little Better Than a Beast by Tom King. Volume 1 of the story was all about what constitutes a person and who qualifies for personhood in a world of humans, aliens, and androids. And Volume 2 of The Vision expands that question to the question of family. What is it that makes a family? How do you love someone when they've made mistakes? And can you love someone through trauma? Can you love someone when you don't agree with them? Can you love someone who isn't there anymore? And is love what actually makes a family, or is it something else, something different? Still, it's a story about love, family, and vengeance in the time of androids, with a narrative that seems almost removed from time. Like, it acknowledges that time exists, but in a way that feels loose and ever-changing. I also read Spider-Man Miles Morales Volume 4, which is the very last book by Brian Michael Bendis because he took a job at DC. So this was, in a way, the end of Miles Morales, and it was quite literally the end of the series after more than 200 issues. It was an action-packed story featuring all of the important people from Miles Morales' life, and the Sinister Six. They were also there. It's an action-packed story with an absurd amount of cameos, and I can't wait to see what's next for Miles in his new series, Miles Morales, Spider-Man. Our next genre in this exploit of complex stories that make us think about the world will be young adult fiction. I read 3 YA stories this fall. In anticipation of the movie, which I still haven't had the chance to watch, I read The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, a book I've owned since 2017, but have not been emotionally ready to read. I'm glad I waited. Angie Thomas did not hold back. This gut-wrenching debut novel follows Star Carter, the only witness when a police officer shoots her unarmed friend. Star experiences this herself, but her experience is fractured because she feels like she's living 2 separate lives. Star Carter living in an impoverished neighborhood, and Star Carter, who is one of the only black students at an elite private school. Star, daughter of a former gang member and community organizer, and Star, niece of a current police officer. All of these roles and identities are in one person, but she feels like she has to be 2 separate people to fit into both the worlds that she inhabits. The Hate U Give explores the issues of race, police brutality, police militarization, and how the media responds to trauma. And it does this in a way where it also handles the complexities of code switching and in navigating life when you have to inhabit what feels like 2 entirely separate cultures. I also live tweeted this book. I did do that. I listened to the audiobook for The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This piece of historical fiction follows Henry Montague, Monty for short, a roguish young man whose behaviors around men and women are far too similar, and whose behaviors around alcohol and gambling halls have gotten him into quite a bit of trouble. As a young man from the 1700s who is frequently in trouble, he is going on one last adventure before it's time to clean up his act and grow up and take on the family title. He is going on a tour of the continent with his biracial best friend Percy, who he is secretly madly in love with, and his annoying, but admittedly brilliant little sister Felicity. Their adventures take a turn though when Monty accidentally takes something of value from French nobility and gets pulled into an international political drama centered around alchemy. It's a beautiful bisexual mess, and I love it. The last YA book I read was maybe the best piece of fiction to be released in 2018. An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. This young adult science fiction novel is about robots and aliens and graphic design and the internet, and it's about fame and community building and finding people you trust and who you look out for, and who look out for you in return. And it all starts with April May making a viral video with her best friend about street art in New York City. But as it turns out, the mysterious 10-foot-tall robot samurai was not technically street art, or at least not art in the traditional sense. It is something that appeared all over the world without explanation, and April May just has to figure out how and why. This is one of those books that I want everyone to read. It made me think about the world and also about myself in new and interesting ways. Please read it. The last piece of fiction that I'm going to talk about today is a work of classic fiction, in the sense that it is considered part of the canon of books that makes up our historical culture. It's Persuasion by Jane Austen, which is about a woman who is being forced to spend time with her ex-fiancé, who she still totally has a thing for. And while that's happening, she's being forced to leave her home because her incredibly vain father and elder sister have put the family into deep, deep debt. It's a story about the virtues of living within your means and not caring about other people's opinions. Other people's opinions about what you do with your life are not nearly as important as your opinion about what you do with your life. Last genre, nonfiction. I read 3 pieces of nonfiction, and they are all contemporary books about issues we're facing right now. This summer, I noticed that I was drawn to stories about the civil rights movement, and that continued as I read the memoir and manifesto On the Other Side of Freedom, The Case for Hope by DeRay McKesson. He uses the book to talk about the value of hope, of storytelling, of viewing issues through an intersectional lens, as he explores his own personal history from growing up as the son of addicts to being a black gay man on the front lines of a fight for freedom from oppression. How he weaves his own personal narrative into the one of our larger political culture right now is weird. It can be an intense book because a lot of really intense things happen in it, but it comes with the reassurances that we can and will build a better world than currently exists. It shows the truth about the darkness of the world while holding your hand and letting you know that we can get through this. The second nonfiction book I read was War on Peace, The End of Diplomacy and the Decline of American Influence by Ronan Farrow. It was less hopeful. However, it was written by a notable journalist who interviewed every living Secretary of State about their time in the office. This book chronicles decades of American foreign policy decisions and the country's increasing reliance on military over diplomacy in foreign situations. It weaves an interesting narrative that is built around people, their ambitions, and the idea of peace. It is a great reminder that policy is built by people, and the people we choose to create policy will ultimately affect the lives of millions of individuals all throughout the world, which is why it matters that we elect good people. The last book I'm going to talk about today is Yes, We Still Can: Politics in the Age of Obama, Twitter, and Trump by Dan Pfeiffer, former White House Communications Director under President Obama, and current co-host of Pod Save America. It is partially a memoir that shows Obama's rise to the presidency, and partially a book full of communication strategies and how to build and focus on a message. And it's all about how Democrats can learn from the past few years to take back power. It is very clearly a book from an activist standpoint, but it's also the most entertaining memoir I've read, as it includes a story about how Dan Pfeiffer ripped his pants in the Oval Office. This fall, I read 10 books, and I got something different from each one of them, but I think they're all working to make me a better person. Please tell me in the comments what you thought of any of these books, or let me know what you've been reading. And if you want to see more from me, you can subscribe, watch another video of mine, or support me on Patreon. And hey, I love you.